there doesn't have to be loneliness in being alone, and you can find romance in your life even if you aren't involved in a romance. Life can be beautiful and spontaneous and surprising and romantic and magical without you having some love affair happening. And you can replace all of those feelings you used to have when you were enamored with someone with being enamored with your friends and enamored with learning new things and challenging yourself and living your life on your own terms. I never understood it when people would say, oh, in your 20s, you just need to be alone. And I never quite got it because they would never explain to me that it's so important to define yourself on your own terms. If you think about it, when you're in love, that person's opinion affects your opinions. And everything you do goes through this filter of how would they feel about it. Because if you're a caring person and you're in love, then that's what you do. But there's something really wonderful about changing your life if you want to, cutting your hair short if you want to, moving to New York if you want to, changing directions of your entire creative outlook if you want to, and having it only be on your own terms. There's a different vocabulary for men and women in the music industry, right?
Give me an example.
Okay, a man does something, it's strategic. A woman does the same thing, it's calculated. A man is allowed to react, a woman can only overreact.
I don't think you should ever have to apologize for your excitement just because it's like, I don't know, just because something's cliche doesn't mean that it's not something that's awesome.
True. What people call, supposedly cheesy is just joy, isn't it?
Yeah, like the worst kind of person is someone who makes someone feel bad, dumb, or stupid for like being excited about something.
When it comes to females in the media, you'll see something that kind of upsets me, which is that females are pinned up against each other, more so than men. For example, like you never see online, vote for who has the better butt, this actor or this actor. It's always like this female singer and this female singer, and you get to vote. Who's sexier? Who's the hotter mama? And I just don't see it like, who's the hotter dad? I think that one thing that I do believe as a feminist is that in order for us to have gender equality, we have to stop making it a girl fight, and we have to stop being so interested in seeing girls try to tear each other down. It has to be more about cheering each other on as women, and that's just kind of how I feel about it. I now can really recognize and diagnose like toxic messages being sent to me by society, by culture, about like my body. Like, I'm a woman, I'm not a coat hanger. I need to feel healthy in my life, and I need to take pleasure in food, and I need to not use my body as like an exercise of control when I feel out of control in my life. In the last 10 years, I have watched as women in this industry are criticized and measured up to each other and picked at for their bodies, their romantic lives, their fashion. Or have you ever heard someone say about a male artist, I really like his songs, but I don't know what it is. There's just something about him I don't like. No, that criticism is reserved for us. I've learned that the difference between those who can continue to create in that climate usually comes down to this: who lets that scrutiny break them and who just keeps making art. We have to work this hard. We have to prove that we deserve this, and we have to top our last achievements. Women in music, on stage or behind the scenes, are not allowed to coast. We are held at a higher, sometimes impossible feeling standard. And it seems that my fellow female artists have taken this challenge and they have accepted it. It seems like the pressure that could have crushed us made us into diamonds instead. And what didn't kill us actually did make us stronger.
There's always going to be somebody that picks on you, or makes you feel small, or makes you feel like you're weird because you're different, or makes you feel like you don't deserve what you want. Something I learned a few years ago was that it's not our job to try and make people like us if they don't want to. And when you learn that and you embrace it, life gets a little bit easier. if you could approach it like this, anytime somebody makes you feel insignificant or small or stupid or weird or annoying or ugly or not good enough in any way, shape, or form, if you can take that feeling, recognize it, and make sure that you never intentionally make another human being feel the way that that person has just made you feel, I think the world would be a lot nicer place to live, don't you?
Yeah.
And then you're going to have people who are going to say, oh, you know, like she just writes songs about her ex-boyfriends. And I think, frankly, that's a very sexist angle to take. No one says that about Ed Sheeran. No one says it about Bruno Mars. They're all writing songs about their exes, their current girlfriends, their love life, and no one raises a red flag there.
What advice would you give to young women trying to make it in your industry today?
I would say it's important to know that you are damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. There is a negative connotation or a ridiculous accusation or a rude stereotype that can be hurled at a woman for doing anything or not doing anything. So focus on your idea of right and wrong, your idea of who you should be, your idea of what's cool, not everyone else's, because it's never all gonna match up. Yeah.
One of my favorite things about female writers, about writers in general, about people who take what happens to them and they process it and they put it out into the world, is if you write, you can turn your lessons into your legacy. And so I'm just really happy to get to do this.
We do exist in this society where women in entertainment are discarded in an elephant graveyard by the time they're 35. Everyone's a shiny new toy for like 2 years. The female artists that I know of have reinvented themselves 20 times more than the male artists. They have to, or else you're out of a job. Constantly having to reinvent, constantly finding new facets of yourself that people find to be shiny. Be new to us, be young to us, but only in a new way and only the way we want. Live out a narrative that we find to be interesting enough to entertain us, but not so crazy that it makes us uncomfortable. There's always some standard of beauty that you're not meeting. Because if you're thin enough, then you don't have that ass that everybody wants. But if you have enough weight on you to have an ass, then your stomach isn't flat enough. It's all just fucking impossible.
But we're really mean to ourselves. And so it's easy to get confused. And when you do get confused, and you start feeling like you're not special, or you're not different, or you have nothing important to say, we all feel like that sometimes. But I want you to do right now, if there's one thing you remember from tonight, remember what I'm about to say. You need to look into the mirror in the morning and not tell yourself that you're not special, or you're not good enough, you're not pretty, or you're not awesome. I'm gonna tell you right now the things you actually are not, okay? These are the things you really are not. You are not the opinion of somebody who doesn't know you. You are not damaged goods just because you've made mistakes in your life. You are not going nowhere just because you haven't gotten where you want to go yet. Those are the things you actually are not. Now, I want to tell you what you are. You are your own definition of beautiful and worthwhile. That's what you are. And you are someone who is wiser because you made mistakes, not damaged, wiser. You know, it's not about perfection. It's about just getting on with things sometimes. Sometimes you just get credit for getting up and going on with things. And you don't have to do it perfectly. And I think that we mistake our mistakes for damage, and we think other people will judge us for them. But I want you to know that the way I see mistakes, they don't make you damaged. They make you clean.